Do you feel like this situation was really one of the first times that you felt a major consequence of your actions?
Probably was the first time that I just couldn't find a way out.
Yeah.
Except for through.
Yeah.
Like I just had to face it and move through it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. Welcome to the Living Louder podcast. So today I am meeting with my daughter, Shelby. I'll actually be meeting with my parents later today. So I wanted to talk to Shelby, who grew up with my parents because I was single before I married Chad and lived in the home. I had 2 children. So Shelby, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I always invite you over and you never know you're going to be on the podcast. You thought you were going to just hang out with Grandma and Grandpa today.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of talk about what it was like for you growing up. So for me, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, and I got pregnant when I was 17 with Jace, and then had you when I was 21, and I was living with my parents. And at this point, you didn't grow up in Richfield in the small town. You grew up in Sandy. And I'm curious what it was like for you, because my parents are so loving, right?
Yeah.
They're very loving. And so what was that? What was your childhood like?
I think my childhood was great. I was always surrounded by family who I knew loved me. I do feel like there were not many rules. So I remember me and my cousins and friends in the neighborhood would just walk out at 1 a.m. and go sneak into the neighborhood pool, the big community pool.
Right.
And we would, swim under the mats at 1 a.m. and see how far we could make it before we couldn't breathe anymore.
So dangerous.
And very dangerous. But again, all the doors were always unlocked. We could just kind of come and go as we pleased, and try to make sure my kids wouldn't do that. But I feel like it helped me kind of grow like an independence of just kind of being able to do what I wanted, I guess. It was really dangerous, but...
So it's hard.
So yeah, not a lot of rules.
So, my mother especially, just could never say no and didn't believe in rules or boundaries.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with that. And then I have a strong personality. And so I kind of ran wild all through my younger years and teen years. And I remember that as fun, a lot of outdoors, having fun and just going. But it wasn't until I got to prison that I realized like rules and boundaries keep you safe.
Yeah.
Like the structure can be really healthy.
Yeah.
And so, and then you kind of went the opposite way. So
yeah,
I would ask, how did you feel? Did you feel loved?
Yes, I felt very loved. Especially my grandparents, they always made sure that I had what I needed.
Well, because I was struggling. A lot of those years I was struggling with addiction.
Yeah, and I would be around during conversation. You were smoking at the time, smoking cigarettes, and I always remember my Aunt Tashi asking you to stop.
Right.
And I actually remember a really specific conversation where she actually told you, and I was right there in the room, she said, like, why don't you stop for your kids? Like, why can't you, like, you can't go one day without smoking? And she was getting really mad at you. And I just remember thinking, like, man, that would suck to be addicted to a substance. Like, obviously those exact words didn't go through my head, but like, my mom is like addicted to something that makes her feel something. And I didn't understand it fully, but I just remember thinking, like, I never want to have to rely on something like that.
Yeah.
And so I actually didn't even, besides getting an epidural, I didn't even take painkillers with my first baby.
Yeah.
Because like the oxycodone that they offered me, because I only took ibuprofen, I was so scared of getting addicted as a mom to something. Yeah. So that, which is great. Like I stayed away from substances like that for a really long time because I was so scared to touch anything like that. So it helped me. And I think, me and for sure, Jace, we really just didn't get into any of that type of lifestyle. Yeah. So I think the example of you going through that made me stay very clear away from wanting to do that. But other than that, because when we lived with grandma and grandpa, there wasn't very many rules, I still felt very loved. But then when we moved to Highland, you became a lot more structured. And I saw the difference, and I loved both. I loved going at grandma's and kind of having like that freedom, I guess. Then I also felt the difference of going back home having my sports, being somewhere at a certain time, practicing something. Like I really liked that structure more. And as I grew older, I knew that I liked that more. And so I've always incorporated structure into my life because that just makes me feel good.
Safe, right?
Yeah, safe.
And two, when you bring up Tashi, so I have not smoked a cigarette for probably almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was completely addicted to that. The way that I started cigarettes was, I think I was 15 and we had like a neighborhood girl that my mom and dad just let anyone live with us at the time. And she smoked cigarettes and she's like, let me show you how to do this. And I remember Tashi, it was Tashi, my youngest sister, who said, I can't believe that you can't quit this. And I remember telling Tashi, I was like, I can quit if I want. And she goes, I don't think you can quit for a week. I'll give you $100 if you can.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember that.
Well, I quit and I've never had a cigarette since. I quit for a week. And once I made it for a week, I knew I could make it another week. But the thing that I knew about that, because I liked to smoke, that if I ever had a cigarette again, I would be right back at it. So I'm like, I know this about myself, like, and I never did, which I'm so grateful for because that was such a burden. I just remember telling Tashi that I could quit and I did. When I got sober, when you were young, I remember thinking that would be the hardest thing I ever had to do. It was really hard for me. And I really was fighting for my kids because I didn't think I was worth much, but I was so tired of hurting you guys. I felt crappy. You guys are amazing. You and Jace, both such good kids. I'm grateful that my parents were there and that all my brothers, my siblings were there. It was a really chaotic time because my parents kind of experiment of no rules or boundaries because we all have big personalities in my family. And so first me and then Misty, we both struggled being young single moms. And then, so we were all kind of living in the house. And then my brothers turned teenagers and they started having their trouble. And when I married Chad, all I knew was I had to do it different. I had to get out. I had to have some rules, right? And so it was probably challenging for you to go from no rules to structure. Like I even remember Jace crying one day and saying, I want to go live with grandma. I want to go live with grandma. It's not fair. You can't do this. And I looked at him and I said, Jace, I haven't been a good mom and I've made so many mistakes, but I'm trying. And that's the best that I can do right now. And I can't take you back there. You have to live with me. I'm your mom. We have to figure this out, And he even remembers that. He remembers saying, I know I have failed, but I'm trying. I'm just, because I didn't know how to be a parent. I was a parent at 17 and I didn't have an example of boundaries or rules. And so, I just was trying to do what I thought people said that would help. And, but I remember when I moved out and you were young, you were like Max's age, and I would take you to school and volunteer in class. And I was just trying to do those things and life got better for us. Yeah. So what was it like for you with Chad? Like for all of a sudden you have a dad.
It was great. I loved Dad from the beginning. I don't remember really your dating days. I remember like before, like without him. And then it was just, I remember your wedding day and then he was there. And it's been great. He's been the best dad. Yeah.
Did you feel different than your siblings that like Jackson and Sadie or Jace, or did you feel different?
I don't think I felt, I was really happy to have a dad. And I knew that I didn't exactly have like a dad in my life before that, but because I had grandpa and I had, uncles around that I knew loved me, and I don't feel like I felt an emptiness of not having a dad prior. But I knew the difference once we did have Dad. I was like, wow, this is great. And he's treated me, even though I'm not his blood daughter, he's treated me just like I know if I was his blood daughter. Yeah. And he helped me. He loves
you so much. I don't know that he could love you anymore.
I felt like his little buddy.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that way. And I've always felt a really strong connection with, just with him. And he's just, I remember, really being really excited when you guys sat me down and said that he's going to adopt me. And I remember I kept asking and asking, like, when is this going to happen? And I would tell all my school friends, I was in 4th grade, my last name's going to change from Wilcox to Louder soon, guys. And I would practice on my papers, and I would even do Wilcox-Louder because I'd be like, my last name's going to be Louder soon. And I was so excited. That really meant a lot to me, even though I was only 9 or 10, just feeling like I, was officially his daughter was great. And yeah, he's taught me so many things. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
How has me going to prison changed your view of the world?
Oh, that is a great question. I definitely view jail and prison differently, just with people that go there. I teach my boys, not everyone that goes to jail or prison is a bad person. And I think it's helped me be a lot more empathetic to families that have lost somebody in their family, because prison, it did kind of feel like definitely not as hard as like a death would be, but you're gone,
Yeah.
you left the family for a couple of years.
5 years.
But yeah. And so I'm just a lot more empathetic to those who, have lost a family member. And also being uncomfortable. I think if we all could have chosen for you to be home and be on an ankle monitor for a couple of years instead of going, everyone would have chosen that route. But would you have really changed?
Yeah, I know.
If you would have just gotten the easy way out. And so something that I have always thought about that I've learned a lot is that when you're put in an uncomfortable situation and when you have to just
figure it out
and do the hard thing, it's really, really hard, but the outcome of it makes you such a better person. And so as much as it sucks that you got the full sentence, I really do think that you became the best version of you because of that, instead of if we were given an option, like an easy way out of you staying home.
I think so too. And it's so confusing.
Yeah.
Because often I think it was the most devastating, painful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what I wanted. And I fought against it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, it took me a few years to get to that place. But like, I am so much happier and grateful. Like, I'm grateful to be sober. And would I think, would it have been nice if it would have just been a year? I don't know if a year would have been enough for me to really suffer the way that I did.
Yeah.
And to really dig deep and figure my way out of that situation and come home a different person.
Yeah.
And I think the heartbreak was what I needed. I needed my heart to be so broken and to suffer so that I could, turn to my Heavenly Father. And it felt like a death to me.
Yeah.
It felt like I lost all of my children. I grieved that. But at the same time, I had, my parents, I gained so many strengths from my parents. Like, they loved me and believed in me, and I never felt unloved. But with no structure or boundaries, I didn't understand what I was missing. And then I get to prison and it's so structured and there's all these rules, and I've incorporated a lot of those things into my life. And so it gave me a chance to grow up.
Yeah.
Like, I had never been on my own. I mean, you have a kid at 17, like, that's younger than CJ,
Yeah.
I was so young. Wow. And sometimes I think back, like, I remember when I was pregnant with you, I just shared this on a video. Like, I had Jace when I was 17. I was so immature and foolish. If I would have known, I would have placed him for adoption because he deserved better. And I know everybody says, how could you place your child for adoption? Oh my goodness. I mean, when I had you, I remember I had midwives, but they were at the hospital. And I remember when I went to one of my doctor visits, they're like, have you ever considered adoption? I was like, I can't place her for adoption. I can't do it, But I can only imagine now, because I work with people that are my age, that are struggling. And I look at them and I think, please, for you and the child, place the child for adoption, because I know, right? And I remember the morning that you were born, Grandma, she was driving me to the hospital and got lost. By the time I got there, I was at an 8. I walked in and had you, and we're like rolling down the window. Can somebody show us where the hospital is? But I just, you were an easy birth, you were an easy pregnancy, and you always had this love for me and everyone around you. You just were good from birth. And when I got pregnant after you with David, at that point, I just had watched my children go without a father. And I looked at you guys and thought, you deserve better. And I looked at, I knew I was pregnant with a child that deserved better. And it was like, at that point, I thought, I really felt like I was making the right decision. I had no idea. I just thought my child deserved parents, I didn't know it would be as painful as it was. I didn't know that I would hurt the way I did. I knew it would be hard, but I'm a pretty disciplined person. And so I envisioned, okay, I'm going to I just envisioned myself placing him for adoption, like him going home with another family. I remember telling you and Jace, I'm having a child for someone else that can't have a baby. Like I planned it all out, but you can't, no matter, just like prison, I knew it was going to be hard, but until you walk through something, you have no idea how painful it will be. And I remember when I was getting ready to plead guilty, and I didn't want to plead guilty. And I remember talking to the lawyer, and I said, I've already placed a child for adoption, and now you're asking me to give up all my children? I can't do it. She's like, Portia, I know it would be so hard, but if you don't and you go to trial, you're going to serve 15 years in prison. They will punish you, and they will take you from your, like, you won't come back from that. And it just felt like they were ripping away everything I had, you know? It was so painful.
So I have a question. Do you feel like this situation was really one of the first times that you felt a major consequence of your actions?
You mean when I think I got away with things so much in my life.
Right. So was this kind of like the first time someone has said, you're not getting out of this? Like you can't, your beauty, your, you know, infectious like person, like all great qualities used for good, like, but like you're not getting out of this. Do you feel like this was the real, because you didn't really have many consequences growing up?
I had consequences because there's always natural laws like place a child for adoption, suffer, get pregnant with the child, raise the child. But my parents always helped fill the gap. Like I had you, I can still go and do what I want. My parents will take care of you.
Yeah.
I have this, so-and-so will take care of you. Yeah, I think so. I think this was the most, and I was so used to being able to navigate in and out of situations. And so being up against something that I just couldn't move drove me insane. Like I literally lost my mind over it.
Yeah.
I just was like, I know how to fight my way out of hard situations.
Right.
Yeah.
I can talk it out. I can
pay for it out.
Right.
I can negotiate my way out. Like, it probably was the first time that I just couldn't find a way out.
Yeah.
Except for through.
Yeah.
Like I just had to face it and move through it.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. It's like I'm grateful for finally having something, because my parents could have never laid down the law. Like they just don't have it in them. I mean, my dad might could have, but my mom, no way. Yeah. And I have a stronger personality than my mother. So and people see that on the podcast. She's amazing, but I just was so strong-willed, you know?
Yeah.
So it took a federal indictment to kind of finally have to face the music.
That there are consequences to your actions. Yeah. And that's crazy that was like
what it took.
The first real big thing, you know? Yeah.
And that's a shout out to people that do the consequences. Like I learned the value of accountability, holding yourself accountable, holding other people accountable, and truth, like facing the truth. Because like it took a federal indictment. What I'm so grateful for is the power of God of helping me see you are the problem, Portia. It's not everybody else. It's you. Yeah. So grateful for that. Yeah. As painful as that was. And it was painful because that meant that when I looked at you guys, all the things that I had done that had hurt you, you know, that was really painful.
You're able to feel more empathy and
just so much sorrow.
Yeah.
And, but a lot more love too. Like a lot more, genuine connection, like willing to say, I'm sorry I hurt you, and then build on that instead of being so defensive. And because I loved you guys. I didn't want to hurt you, but I did hurt you, you know? Yeah. So
what was it like for you I can't remember if this was the first time when you went do you remember when we lived at Toscana and you went to jail? Yeah. And you came back like, was it 1 to 3 months? You were gone for like 1 to 3 months. And it was the time where you guys just went in for like
I went in for a they didn't even tell us. They called us in for a hearing, and then they just pretty much ripped me out of the courtroom and locked me up. And nobody knew where I was or where I was going. And I was gone for 3 months. Yeah. And they flew me all over the country. That was so traumatic. Yeah. When you came back, you were like... Not there. I had a mental breakdown.
Yeah. It was really strange. Yeah. Because I think I did live there at the time with you guys. And I just remember I had a high school friend over that grew up with me, and you passed us and she was like, whoa, like she's like not. Yeah. You would go on walks around the block. You were really traumatized.
I was so traumatized. Well, they put me in a cell for 10 days without clothes, and then they chained me and shackled me. I passed out a couple times. They put me on plane and then sent me to another isolation cell, and being so confused because I couldn't even remember, what did I do? I haven't even pled guilty yet. Like I still wasn't guilty of anything. And so that experience was so traumatic for me that I remember I didn't even know my name. Like I was so lost for a while. I attribute that a lot to the power of God, my family's dad, blessings, community, bringing me back from that. But it took me, even my time in prison, it took a long time to recover from that. Yeah. Like I remember a girl on the compound that she said, "You look really put together, but I see something in your eyes different." She goes, "You've been through some things." And I think that gave me a lot more compassion for other people and what they had suffered. But it took a long time to recover from the PTSD. I read every book I could. I would wake up and have panic attacks in prison. So it took a while for me to come back from that. And it was illegal, like what they did. And that was hard because then there's two issues. There's the issue of I've been sentenced and I did this to myself, but I was also treated very poorly and illegal things were done to me. And I can sue them for that, but if I do, I have to relive it all. And just navigating all of that when I was in prison, a lot of prayer and meditation, a lot of crying, and then working through the PTSD, I think that's why I'm a recovery coach now, because I can relate to having to come back from something that devastating.
Yeah. So. And coming off cold turkey from any medications that you might have been taking at the time.
Well, that was a contributor too. They just cut me off of medications. And that can kill a person, right? I started having seizures and everything else, and they just left me in a cell. So it was pretty rotten.
That's so scary.
I have a lot of compassion for people that have been through those things. I work with people now. So, if you can survive, there's something beautiful on the other side, but those things shouldn't have happened. Yeah. So it was probably scary for you guys to see me that lost,
Yeah. I remember when Dad and Jace went to go visit you, and they just... expressed that it was sad because you weren't yourself. Yeah.
I was really lost.
Yeah. So, and that would have been really scary to then think about having to go to prison and just so many unknowns. And then, you just went through that.
Yeah.
That
6 months later, I was sentenced to prison. And when they put me back in the SHU, it was pretty traumatic for me.
Yeah.
I know you were worried. That's why Dad flew back out, but
yeah. I was like, I'm going. I called one of the lawyers that you used, and I said, "Are you going to fly out? I'll figure out money to get you out there. Someone's got to go." Yeah. And so Dad ended up going. Yeah. But I was really worried about you.
Yeah. By the grace of God.
Yeah. Yeah. I think addiction had a lot to do with probably the actions of what led you to. Ultimately,
my judgment was very poor. When I got sober and started rebuilding a new life, I am clear when I'm sober. And what's so scary is that I can use pills and nobody even knows. And they just, because I'm not on the street buying heroin, but it's just as damaging. Yeah. It really changes my judgment in the way that I think. Dad and I just talked about that in a podcast. He didn't understand how serious it was. Yeah. But it was really bad. My addiction was really bad.
Yeah. I think I just recently started to go to therapy again. And one of the main things I want to talk to her about is that we're working through is I said, I have a hard time depending on other people because I like to be in control of myself. So I think growing up
with an addict
with
mom.
Those experiences, I don't want to give anything or anyone power over me.
Right.
And so, but it can be a fault.
Can be a strength
to be overdrive because you're not allowing some things or some people to help me, know, and I like to do everything myself and be too in control of myself. And so, it can definitely be not extremely healthy to be too, and I don't know if independence is the right word, but I'm working on it because I need to be more balanced in that way. But yeah.
Well, I just, I love you. And
I love you too.
Grateful that you're willing to come back on.
Yeah.
And day 2, she didn't know she was going to be on the podcast.
And I know I'm wearing the same shirt.
Well, you were planning on coming to see my mom and dad who are going to be on the podcast. So
yeah.
Anyway.
But I love you.
It's a wrap. Love you too. Okay.